This is the Yamaha Revstar, and it's actually one of the most requested guitar reviews I get on this channel. When enough of you tell me I need to check out a guitar, I tend to listen because about 2 years ago, one of you told me that I absolutely must try this guitar, the old school Carvin Allen Holdsworth model. It has become one of my favorite guitars, probably the guitar that I play the most consistently and the most often. So the question is, does the Yamaha Revstar live up to the hype? We'll get to that a bit later, but for now, I'll leave you with this. The Yamaha Revstar reminds me a lot of a 2001 Toyota 4Runner. And I'm not just saying that because Toyota and Yamaha are both Japanese countries. These two things are actually more similar than you may think, but again, we'll save that for later. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat in this video, after cutting my hair for the first time in over 20 years, I kind of forgot that you have to continue to periodically cut your hair. And since my university job is mostly remote, I didn't realize how much of a homeless person I look like until I turned on the camera just now. So, hat stays on. So starting from the headstock, we have this really nice understated design. I like how dark and black the gloss is, and I also like this new Yamaha logo. Actually, I'm not sure if it's new, but it's new to me. These little tuning forks moving around in a circle. Very, very simple, very elegant. And then we also have these normal tuners here with these old school style tips on them. The first thing that I actually noticed when picking up this guitar is that these tuners feel really, really nice. I assume that the ratio is higher than average because it takes very little effort to turn the knobs and have the strings move to pitch. Very, very small detail, and I can't find the exact ratio on the Yamaha website, but it did make me think that maybe I should get some higher ratio tuners for my other guitars, because of course I need to spend more money on more guitar related stuff. Actually, is it a lower ratio that's easier to turn or a higher ratio that's easier to turn? If someone is good with math, please put it in the comments below for me. So we have a 3-piece mahogany neck, a 24 3/4 inch scale length, 12-inch radius, rosewood fingerboard, and this part I didn't expect, but we also have jumbo stainless steel frets. Now, I will say this, even if I just play this guitar acoustically, I noticed that the frets are not as smooth as what I would expect when bending from stainless steel. Let me see if you can hear this. So I usually don't get that kind of a scratchy sound or feel with stainless steel frets, but honestly, that just tells me that I need to quickly take off the strings and polish this one time, and then I'm sure they'll be totally smooth. But apart from that, this neck has been really, really fantastic. There's no sharp fret edges whatsoever. The leveling is literally perfect, and the binding that goes from the headstock to the neck and the body is flawless. In terms of the neck shape, this feels like a mix between a C and a D. So it is of course round and we have a little bit of shoulders, but it's also a tiny bit more chunky than a standard C neck. I don't think this will be uncomfortable if you have small hands, but if you like things on the ever so slightly chunky side, I think you'll really enjoy this neck. And the satin on the neck is also really smooth, really nice. And then we have these kind of straight line inlays. I don't know what Yamaha is calling them, but the work overall is really, really solid. And I think they also look pretty on this guitar. Story time. And this is kind of a spoiler for how I feel about this guitar, but I'll just say this. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you may remember a series I used to do called The Experiment. Comment below what a new experiment you would like to see happen, if you want to see it come back, that is. Anyway, in one of the series, I covered the Gibson SG, and I got one around $1,000. Today, that guitar is even more expensive, but point being is, after playing it for a few months, I realized I didn't really like it. The neck felt good, but the frets were a little bit too narrow. I didn't really feel comfortable playing it, and it had a little bit of neck dive. And thinking back to that guitar, I now understand why everyone said I should try the Yamaha Revstar. This neck, at least, and the lack of neck dive, it feels a lot like what I want a really nice kind of SG style guitar to feel like and sound like. So hopefully I didn't spoil the entire video, but I'll just say that this neck feels like that nice mix between something a little bit more vintage and something very modern. It's a bit more chunky, but not too chunky. Stainless steel frets and they're jumbo, easy to play. It's just a solid, nice, comfortable neck. So as you know by now, I have a very developed opinion on what guitars I like. But the truth is, I know almost nothing about everything else. Like when it comes to mic stands, when it comes to power conditioners, I know none of that info. And that's one reason why I like to shop at Sweetwater. This video is sponsored by Sweetwater, of course. They have a really great selection of guitars, of course, the best deals, the best customer service, the fastest shipping, all the stuff you would already expect. But the thing that I've come to appreciate recently is the fact that I can text Sam Cohey, that's my guy over there, and I can say something to him like, I need a power conditioner that's under this price point. I don't know which one to get. What do you recommend? And he'll just tell me, oh, you definitely need this one. And then I can say, okay, send that to me now. And he'll just charge my card, send it right over, I'll get it overnight, and it's that simple. It's almost like having someone in your corner to handle all of your obsessive compulsive tech needs. Yeah, that's why I like Sweetwater. Check them out, link below. So as you move to the body, you see that we have this kind of offset SG-esque design. And I think it's really comfortable and it's really cool. On the back, we have a really nice belly cut. And on the front, it's hard to tell, but there is a little bit of a forearm bevel. It's not very dramatic, but it's enough to improve the comfort. So overall, the guitar is very comfortable. And again, I think this piano black gloss that matches the headstock, I think it looks great. Of course, just like the mahogany neck, we have a mahogany body and we have a maple top. And there's also a bit of chambering in the guitar. I couldn't really tell by picking it up. It doesn't feel like a super light guitar, but there is chambering up here and chambering down here as well. Yamaha claims that this is special acoustic chambering that enhances the tone. How true is that? I'm not exactly sure, but the guitar does sound good, as you'll hear in a bit. And then we have our normal Tune-o-matic bridge here onto the electronics. So the electronics of this guitar is another area where I think it shines. So we do have these humbucker pickups and they sound great as humbucker pickups. But we also have a 5-way switch. So in positions 2 and 4, you do get kind of a more split stratty kind of a tone, which is nice. Then we have our normal master volume, master tone knob, but the tone knob is actually a passive boost. So there's no batteries required for this guitar, but engaging this knob here gives you a louder sound. I'm not sure what you associate boost pedals or boosts on guitars with, but I usually think about a lot more high end and a lot more high mids. In this case, we're actually boosting the mids and the bass, which is pretty unique. Now, I'm someone who usually plays with a very bassy tone. So with my standard Axe-Fx settings, when I engage the switch, things just honestly got a bit too muddy. Then I thought to myself, if I set up my Axe-Fx with the boost engaged, I can then drop the boost and get a brighter, thinner sound. You don't have to always use things the way they were intended to get more tones out of an instrument. And the last thing that I should mention is that this guitar also comes with a really nice padded gig bag. So I'd be more than comfortable taking this with me on the train, on the bus, even on a flight. It's pretty solid. Okay, so story time. I'm gonna explain to you why I feel like this guitar is the 2001 Toyota 4Runner of guitars, and what that means about the price, its utility, and so on. So I believe it was around 2003, 2004. My father replaced our very old family car with a 2001 Toyota 4Runner. Prior to this, our family car was from the late 1980s, and it was the early 2000s. So this thing was a piece of junk by that time. And when he got the Toyota 4Runner, even though it was already 2-3 years old maybe, even though it had a lot of miles already, it was like to us a huge deal. And the thing about that car is that it was always reliable, and it was always reliable for a very long time. Now, during the early 2000s, especially where I grew up in the hood, the gas-guzzling Cadillac Escalade was the car that everyone thought was amazing. And it was far more extravagant, far more cool, and all of that stuff. But here's the thing. That Toyota 4Runner was extremely reliable. It was a decent price, and it basically required zero maintenance. I mean, we had that car up until my father passed away, and it was still running perfectly fine. Then my brother got it. He drove it for a few years, and it was still running perfectly fine. Through Northeast winters, through summers, everything you can imagine, this car just kind of kept going. Again, it never had the cool drop-down TV screen thing. It wasn't a ride that was pimped, but it was just there, it was solid, and it always got the job done. And to me, that's what this Yamaha Revstar reminds me of. These guitars come in about the $800 to $900 range. And if you go on the Sweetwater open box section, you can get these for like the mid 700s, and they're still going to be basically like new. So we'll just say for about $850 or so, you get a really, really solid guitar. The fit and finish everywhere is great. It's extremely reliable. The tones are very good. You have a few little things you can do with the switch, and you have a boost and all of that stuff, and maybe you'll use that, maybe you won't. But the standard tones on this guitar, they just get the job done. And it's extremely comfortable to play. So if you're some rich guy with a big car collection, you may own a Lamborghini, and whenever you drive the Lamborghini, it's a lot of fun. It looks great, it turns the heads, but at the end of the day, it's not the car that you drive every day. The guitar you bring out sometimes, it's sleek, it's beautiful, but you're probably not going to drive across country with it. To me, that's like my Parker Fly. It's fun to play when I play it, but I'm also not interested in playing it all the time. And then you may have some really old retro Ford car that you like to tinker with, and you also drive that occasionally, but again, it's not the most reliable car. It takes a lot of tinkering, and you get kind of nervous if you have to drive it for longer distances. To me, that's like a classic Gibson archtop from like the 1970s. Beautiful guitar, sounds great, fun to play sometimes, but you gotta be really careful with it. And then you have your Toyota 4Runner or your Honda Civic, a car you can drive every day. You could drive it across country. You don't have to worry about anyone denting it or scratching it, and it just gets the job done. It's reliable and it's somewhat affordable. That's how I feel about the Yamaha.